Hey guys, I just want to go over how I create things in Design Space. I've only been cricketing for a little over a year and a half, so it was probably a good, I'm gonna say 7-8 months in before I found one video of a another fellow crafter that showed how to use the position of the X and the Y, and it really helped me out because I like to create things from scratch. There's really no right or wrong way to begin. Sometimes I'll sketch what I have in mind, and I'll even go as far and do the measurements. And sometimes I just get on Design Space and start working and doing the measurements on the desktop of my computer. And then with this mechanism, what I did is I literally cut it out by hand and then started writing my measurements of how I wanted it to see if it was going to work or not. And you have to do what feels best for you. But once you have your sketch or your measurements down, or if you're going to go freely and go into Design Space and start creating, I just wanted to be able to show you how you can position things in Design Space to create and do your own original things. So let's go ahead and go over to Design Space. So what we're going to do today is just something that I'm going to do for my next video. Something simple, not too hard for us to do. And anyways, what we're going to need for this is a square. So we're going to come over here to the shapes, and then we're going to get a square. And I like to change my color. Doesn't matter which. I love purple, so let's go with purple. And I want the square to be 6 by 6. So here's the width and the height. So we don't need to unlock it because it's going to be a square, and it'll change it to the other side to 6. But if we wanted it to be a different size, we would make sure we would unlock it and say we want one size 5.5. So that way it won't mess with our 6 inches at the top. But anyways, I'm gonna undo that. So when I'm creating, I make sure this is lined up in this far corner over here. So how we would get that, I mean, you could take it and place it over there, but you can also go to the X, which is right there. I hope everybody can see that. Zoom in a little. And there's the X. So we would change the X to 0 and then the Y to 0. And then it's squared up in the corner. Okay, so go over here to the left under shapes and get a score line. And then I want the score line to be 5 inches long. So we'll go over to the height and change it to 5. And then I'm going to tab over to rotate. And I want it to lay horizontal. So that's going to be 90 degrees. So we'll hit 90 and enter. And then this is where y'all hear me talk about the X and the Y. So we want to place the score line. I'm sorry, I don't know why it says we need the score line to be 6 inches, not 5, 6 inches. So go correct that real quick. So the X is always the top, the Y is on this side. And we're going to go 5 inches on the bottom. So all we'll go and do is the X is going to be 0. It's going to be the 0 because we want it straight against the border of the square. And then we want to place it at 5 inches. And then we'll hit 5 and hit enter. And now we can see it's down here at 5 inches. Now we're going to start working on our cut lines. Over here and get into the shapes and get a score line. And then we're going to go up to the top where it says operation, and we're going to change the score line to a basic cut line. And now it should look like a solid line. Okay, then once we have that, we're going to go ahead and change the height. We want the height to be 1 inch. So we'll do 1 and hit enter. And then because we're working on our horizontal lines, we want to rotate it to 90 degrees. And then our X position is going to be 0 because we want it all the way against our edge over here. So we'll hit 0 and enter. And then our Y line, we want it 3/4 of an inch, and 3/4 is 75. And then we should have something that looks like so. Alright, now because I'm using the same cut line as before, it's going to be the same size, I'm going to go over here to my layers panel and click on it, and then I'm going to right click and duplicate, and there we've created another one. Now this is going to be still horizontal, but the X we're going to position at 5 inches, and then the Y is going to be at 3/4 of an inch, which is 0.75. So now we should have something that looks like so. Okay, now let's move on to our vertical lines. Now you can go over to the shapes again, but since we're using a cut line, I'm just going to go over to my layers panel and just reuse it. So we're just going to duplicate it. And then this one is only going to be 3/4 of an inch in the height. So we'll do 0.75, enter. And then we need to rotate it to 0 because we want it to be going straight up and down. And then we're going to position the X at 1 inch. So 1, we'll put 1 and enter. And then the Y, we're going to position it at 0. And there we have it. And see, we have it perfectly lined up with our other cut line we want to do. So let's go over to the layers, grab that first line again over here, and duplicate it. And there it is. And now what we're going to do is line it up over here with this other one. So it's also 3/4 of an inch long. We don't need to change to rotate it. The X is going to be at, can anybody guess? 5, that's right. And then our Y is going to be, anybody know? 0, right. And then we have, it should look like so. So the dotted lines are our score lines, and these are going to be our cut lines. And again, let me toggle back over here so you can see. This is what we're going to be making. So let's go back to our other one. Now, I wanted something cute like an edge here. So what I did is I grabbed me a heart. I thought, oh, I could use a heart, and that would make like a little swoop edge. So I grabbed a heart from our shapes, and then my heart, I made, the size of it is 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75 for the width. And if you do that, you should automatically get 0.71 on the other, and that's exactly what I wanted it to be as. Now you can change this heart, it doesn't matter, because once we attach it, it's going to change it back to whatever color you've made this. Now what I wanted to do is position it on this line, and if we go over to the X and put 5/8 of an inch, which is 0.625. So in the X, we're going to do 0.625, tab, and then our Y is going to be 0.028. Now, if we look, we can't see our score line or our cut line there. So if we go over to our cut panel, our layers panel, and find this line, which if you just highlight it, you'll see which one it is when it comes up here. On mine, it was the third item down. And we right click on it and say, send it to the front. Now we can see the line. And let me change this just so y'all can see it better. Now see the cut line, and that's what I wanted. I wanted it perfectly centered right in the middle of my heart. Okay, and we're going to do that again. So we're going to go over to our layers, hit duplicate, right click, duplicate, and we have it here. And we don't need to change the shape or anything because I want it the same size. And we're going to go over and position this at 4, the X at 4 5/8. So it's 4.625. And then our Y we're going to position at 0.028. And again, if we go over to our panel and we highlight the line that it's under and move it to the front, send it to the front, we'll be able to see the line to see if it's located where we want it. And that's perfect. That's just where we want it. So now what we're going to do is you can just hit select all and then go over to your layers panel and at the bottom hit attach. And then now everything is attached and ready to use to send to our Cricut. But what I wanted to also tell you, if you have other stuff, so I'm going to detach that. If you have other stuff on your board that you're working with and you can't use the select all button, all you have to do is make sure, you don't have to completely highlight it, you just got to make sure you run over everything that's on the board. So see how I didn't have to go all the way to the top. As long as I'm touching everything that's on this board, it will grab everything. And hit attach. And see how it grabbed everything even though I didn't have everything highlighted. And what we get is something that looks like so. And I did trim off my little piece of paper a little bit further in because I didn't like how it looked. I know at the beginning when I started using the Cricut, I was so confused, and I really was so thankful to Keonna, the Kraft Therapist, and she also has a YouTube page that has a lot of neat things on it. If it wasn't for her and the one video I found of hers of how she used the positioning of the X and the Y, I don't know if I would have really discovered it and figured out how to use it. And remember, the more you use it and play around in the Design Space, the more you'll get used to it and discover new features about it. So I just want to say we did it. Thanks for crafting with me, and tune in next week to see what we do with this. Bye.